My name's Adam Manarco and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
G'day everybody and welcome to the beautiful Fraser coast here in Hervey Bay in Queensland for the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships, and I tell you what, the conditions look absolutely beautiful here today. The sun is out and the teams are in readiness. We've got some extra boats on the water here this weekend and we're really looking forward to some fantastic racing. Having a look after round number 2, 222 Offshore sitting on top of the table of the Supercat Extreme, back to Maritimo 11, then to number 12, and then in 4th spot, the KKR Transport. In the Supercat Outboard Series, we've got the Hog's Breath right up there on the top. Back to the Power Zone 88, not far back on 384 points, and sitting in 3rd place, the Saracen on 192. The Oz 1 overall trophy, 222 Offshore are taking the honours at the moment. Can they hang on? Back to Hog's Breath and Power Zone. Plenty of excitement surrounding this, the final round of the OSC Championship, with V8 supercar racing legend Mr. Todd Kelly very excited to jump into the seat of the 222. He's replacing Darren Nicholson. Let's see how he can do at this weekend's final round.
Well, there was a lot to learn in a very short space of time. Being in a boat where you're only in charge of the steering wheel and not the throttles and trims and things like that. So I would imagine that relationship takes quite a lot of time to really get right. So we went out in qualifying yesterday and Pete, I think, was a little bit on the cautious side, not knowing what I was going to do with the steering wheel, but we got round and qualified 3rd in both runs and got to learn a little bit more about each other, and I got to learn a bit about how to steer the boat, and today hopefully the conditions are similar and we can use it today.
Yeah, no, well, the shootout didn't go as good as we expected. We set the boat up, I mean, we've been here for the last 6 years and set the boat up for rough water, which is normally the condition up here, and we couldn't believe it was like a mill pond out there yesterday. So, you know, we made some changes yesterday, changed some spaces and everything, thinking, you know, we would need a bit more rough water set up. Even the props and that weren't right, so no, we didn't do the right thing. So the way the weather is today and that, we're going back to a setup that we know and how the boat handles and sits better on the water, gives us some more speed, because we just didn't have the speed.
So I just got asked pretty last minute to come over and race Phantom with Ian. So yeah, always excited to come over here and run with guys over here. So I'm from New Zealand. I run the same 26-foot Shifty cat, but with twin 200s rather than the 300s. And we race in the New Zealand Offshore Powerboat Champs within the 400 class.
Yeah, it was a little bit calmer than what we expected. So our boat's probably more suited to rough water. So the little boats, they went pretty well. They turned better than we can, and yeah, they're just a bit quicker on a tighter circuit than what we can get around.
Yeah, the boat's going well. It's the second time it's been in for a race and did everything right on Saturday. So we got a pole position fastest lap, and then 88 got the second fastest lap, and then we reversed and they got a pole position, so we got a pole position.
The whole season has been fantastic, especially after coming off our first 600 horsepower Supercat outboard win last year. The boat has been absolutely on fire again this season. We are extremely impressed with this performance. The conditions were absolutely perfect for Hervey Bay. This is our first time in 5 years since we've been here that it has been like that. So it was still certainly a challenge for us because it was very smooth. So we played with our little setup while we're out on the water to actually get our result yesterday.
We're obviously out to win a couple more races. We've only won one race all year. If we're on pole, we're in a good spot, but you still got to pull it off. So 2 wins here today would be good for us. Where that puts us in the championship, I think it's still too far. We're still too far behind.
Well, have a look at that. The magnificent Fraser coast here at mighty Hervey Bay, and the crowd is out en masse. We had a fantastic show and shine Saturday afternoon and Saturday night where the crowds came out, and now the boats are on the water for race number 1, round number 3, the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships as we go on board Maritimo 12 there. Boats getting themselves into position. There's been a lot of talk in the pits and around the races about the starts of these races. A few of them have been a little bit messy. The guys want to try and get them right here today. Maritimo 12, flag drops and we are racing. The Hog's Breath drops the flag and the Maritimo 12 gets an absolutely cracking start. Todd Kelly and Peter Mcgrath in the 222 on the outside. This is Todd's first race in the boat and they've got a very, very nice start indeed. In fact, we have a look at them on the outside there and they've got a good start. We're just looking back there to the KKR with Kenny Tree and Travie Thompson on board that particular boat, and they've got the whole shot on those guys. This is quite a short front straight here at the beautiful Hervey Bay course. Now we look back at the outboard category. Mick Walker and Paul Folds in the brand new boat, only second race for this beautiful 29-foot Shifty Catamaran. You can see the pair of 3.2 litre Mercury Racing strokers on the transom of that boat working beautifully. These conditions will suit this boat absolutely beautifully. You can see Michael and Griffith L just off their starboard rear corner there, and it is very, very close in the outboard categories as we watch the big boys tip up into turn number 1, and it is tight, close racing. Have a look at the conditions here today. It is almost glass-like out here at magnificent Hervey Bay, and we go on board the 222. There's Todd Kelly. Welcome to Offshore Powerboat Racing, son, as they just hold the KKR nice and tight there. Plenty of racing room for these guys. You can see the wash of the Maritimo 12 that the KKR is running in as well. So Kenny Tree and Trav Thompson don't look like they've quite got the acceleration to go with the 222 there, but the battle is on between the two Maritimo boats. You can see the length difference between the Maritimo 11, which is just one boat length in front of the Maritimo 12. We go back on board now, Todd Kelly and Peter Mcgrath. Well, that was an absolute baptism of fire for Todd. You can see his hands were working absolutely overtime in that boat as they came into turn number 1. 222 now, you can see not too far back from the leaders at this stage of the game, which is amazing considering Todd's lack of experience in this particular category. He is running with the big boys. Well, he's used to running with the big boys, and they don't get any bigger than the two guys out in front at the moment, the Willerton boys. Ross, of course, the father, the absolute legend of offshore powerboat racing, along with his son Andrew, the young gun and the hard charger. Back to the outboard boats now, and Mickey Walker and Paul Folds are pushing, but have a look at this. You couldn't even throw a postage stamp over this outboard category at the moment. You can see 88 there. That's Michael and Griffith L, the Power Zone entry, and on the outside of them, the Victorians, Andy DeFeeta and Matthew Kelly there in the Saracen. This is absolutely on in the outboard category at the moment. Could go any way. So, fantastic racing here at beautiful Hervey Bay as we charge down the front straight away. You're looking at the 29-foot Shifty Catamaran, so same manufacturer for these two boats. The green boat, the 29-foot version. The 25-foot version is the 88 Power Zone. Now, running different power plants on these particular boats as well. You can see little 2.5 litre race engines on the back of the Power Zone entry. Griffith L, he loves these little 2.5s. He's spent his entire life building and racing these engines, and these things have just been so reliable. He is such a top mechanic when it comes to these particular engines, and you can see they are producing plenty of horsepower. They'll be running up into the 8 to 8,200 RPM mark, whereas the 3.2 litre Optimax is much newer and bigger engines on the back of this particular boat, the Hog's Breath. You can see them there. They are a 3.2 litre V6, high pressure direct injection, and quite different in the technology there. But I tell you what, plenty of power. Oh, look at Saracen nearly cleaning up the buoy there as they drop into the wash. So the Mick Walker and Paul Folds just making sure the door was well and truly closed. I think Matty Kelly wanted to have a little bit of a look up the inside, but I don't think that was ever on. They nearly glanced the buoy there. They didn't. They had to actually turn out of it and go into the spray of the Hog's Breath machine, but what tight and close racing in the back of the field there in the outboard category. Now we move to the front of the field, and it's still this Maritimo battle going on between the 11 and the 12, with Triple Two just lurking in behind them there, wanting to try and make a move whenever they can. 88 power zone. Look at the acceleration from the little 2.5 litres as they pull up alongside this Hog's Breath machine again. So Mickey Walker and Paul Foltz. Big Mick Walker there, the big farmer, just getting it done. He still looks very, very casual. I'm sure the heart rate's up, but certainly you wouldn't know it by looking at him. And Foldsy, of course, very, very experienced campaigner. This is incredible parity between these two boats, considering how different these two boats are. And don't forget the Saracen, just out the back door there, just a little bit, and trying to get the job done as they accelerate away and head down the front straight for the third time now. Mick Walker and Paul Foltz, they have got, well, they're being absolutely harassed here at the moment by Michael and Griffith. Look how hard they are, just running straight on the wash of this Hog's Breath machine, and they're just not wanting to run any further distance than what they absolutely have to. So Mickey Ethel just on the steering there of that 88 power zone machine, and look at the acceleration on it again as they come back at them. It's got very, very good corner speed, the little boat. You can see it's almost like the Hog's Breath, if you equated it to cars, doesn't quite have as good a brakes as the 88. You see the 88 closing the gap on the Hog's Breath as they come into the corner, but I think then the acceleration of the big 3.2 litres will, well, as I say that, the power zone, they run a little bit wide. So what they did there was they maintained a little bit of momentum. They let the boat run out wide and just maintain that pace, and they actually made some ground up doing that. Great driving there from Michael Ethel. So the 11, sorry, I should say there, and you can see a little bit of bark off the 11 on the front starboard side there. It's had a repair done to it, just a bit of a scar from a previous race, and these boys just straight back into it now. So Ross and Andrew Willerton. Ross on the throttles on your left of screen. Andrew steering the boat on your right of screen. Andrew is, of course, the son, Ross the father, and these boys are really charging hard in this boat. It's the shortest boat in the Supercat Extreme category, and it's running the Mercury number 6 stern drives. We'll talk about that a little later, because we're going over now to Kenny Tree in the Fleet Imaging KKR Racing entry, and these guys are doing a beautiful job. Travis Thompson, this is only Ken's second ever offshore powerboat race, did a fantastic job down at Lake Macquarie, and now he's got a little bit of experience under his belt and he wants to push that little bit harder. Having a look now at the Phantom. Now, we haven't seen these guys. They've been in the spray and they've been just hiding a little bit, but it is Ian Harris and Chris Hager. Chris, all the way over from the North Island of New Zealand. He is a very, very accomplished offshore powerboat racer over there, and he's doing a beautiful job in the little 25-foot Shifty Catamaran. It is, of course, Mick Walker's old boat, and it is for sale. So if you're sitting around having a look at this at the moment thinking this looks like a lot of fun, I'd like to get involved in this, that purple boat is an absolute rocket ship, and I'll tell you what, you could do very, very well to jump into that boat and get involved in offshore powerboat racing. Hog's Breath have made a little bit of a break there on the 88, but it is still an absolute dogfight there in the Supercat outboard category at the moment. Going back now, so with the Maritimo 12, Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick. Stevie Jellick on the throttles here at your left of screen. Tom Barry Cotter to your right of screen. Both of these guys incredibly experienced, but I tell you what, I won't like being having a look at the 11 in front of them, just trying to pick up what was going on there. So we go back on board now with Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick. Saw him just trying to sneak up the inside, so just trying everything on here to try and get round this 11 machine at the moment. But Andrew and Ross Willerton are like an absolute shot dog. So you can see now the wash on the outside of these guys, so they've managed to stick the nose of the 12 up the inside of the 11. But I'll give you the tip, wily old Roscoe Willerton, he won't be letting that happening for too long. He will be trying to shut those boys down, make it really, really hard for them. We go on board now with the 222, Todd Kelly and Peter Muddy Mcgrath, and oh no, this doesn't look good. That boat's off that's on one engine at the moment. You can see the starboard engine not doing anything, bit of a rooster tail coming up off the port engine there, and you can see inside the cockpit, absolute disappointment for these guys. You can see the tachos there, looks like the port engine, starboard engine still revving up there, so that looks like it might not have any drive there, so that is disappointing. So we will have to see what happens with the 222. Can they get out for race number 2? Can they get going again? Plenty of action here at the Australian Offshore Superboat Championship, so stick around. Welcome back to the beautiful Fraser coast here at Hervey Bay, and we are midway through race number 1 at the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championship, and we are on board with Ian Harris and the Kiwi Chris Hager in the Phantom Racing Machine. These guys are having a nice little run. Chris, of course, just getting used to this boat, his first time in the boat, as they get rounded up by race leader, boat number 11, which is the Maritimo 11. Andrew and Ross Willerton doing a beautiful job in that boat. They are being hunted by this team here, their fellow team in the Maritimo 12. As we go on board now, Mickey Walker and Paul Folds, they are still being absolutely harassed by Michael and Griffith Al in the 88 power zone. The little 25-foot Shifty Catamaran trying to get the job done on the 29-foot Shifty Catamaran, and it got very, very close there up into the top turn. And you can see again Michael Ethel just running the boat out, letting it run a little bit wide and trying to maintain that momentum. In fact, we go on board with Michael and Griffith Al now, and you can see they have just put about a boat length on the Hog's Breath. So Hog's Breath team won't be too excited to see the little rocket ship in front of them, because I tell you what now, the Ethel boys, you can see that camera just mounted on the back of the boat there, and they will make this the widest 25-foot Shifty Catamaran in Australia right now, because they won't want to be letting this Hog's Breath up the inside of them, although it looks like Hog's Breath just made a little bit of a move coming in. And you can see the different lines that a few of these boats are taking, just looking at their washers now as we go down through the bottom turn. This is a close racing. This is about as tight as it gets. Hog's Breath now just copping spray now from the power zone. These guys are having an absolute ball out here. It is push and shove all the way, and this is the final round of the championship. None of these guys want to lose this one, and they're all pushing hard. Look at the conditions at the moment. It is absolutely stunning out there. Not too much air out of the boats. They are absolutely hard on their throttles and just dancing from sponson to sponson. This has been an enthralling tussle, and now the Ethel boys in the power zone, they go to the lead of this Supercat outboard category now. We go back on board with them, and you can see the big boys. That's the 12 and the 11 just coming through. So they're putting a lap on the outboard boats now. So we've got all 4 leaders in shot right now. And Hog's Breath again. Paul Folds just stuffs it up the inside there. The Hog's Breath. Are we going to trade some fiberglass? Are we going to trade some gel coat? Who knows? There's been plenty go on this year as we look at Mickey Walker and Paul Folds. You can't quite see the power zone out the side there. That's because they've dropped back about half a boat length. Now they make a move coming up into the top turn again. This is incredible racing. Have a look at Mickey Walker. He is overtime. Oh, and we got one of the big boats around the outside there as well. Plenty of spray. So it is like Burke Street in Melbourne at peak hour at the moment out here on beautiful Hervey Bay. And the Hog's Breath runs to the inside. It looks as though the power zone running in somebody's wash there. Now, this may be tactical for these guys. If you can drop in behind one of the big boats, they'll smooth the water off for you. They'll knock the tops off the waves, and you can actually go a little bit quicker. So, Michael and Griffith Al trying everything within their power to try and run this boat hard and fast and try and stay in front of that hard charging Hog's Breath. We go on board now with race leaders Ross and Andrew Willerton, the Maritimo 11. How good does that sound? Twin big blocks, carburetted big blocks, making 850 horsepower per side. This boat, the shortest boat in the fleet, in the Supercat Extreme fleet, and it is running the Mercury number 6 outdrive. So it does run a different drive system to all the other boats in this category. All the rest of them are shaft-driven boats. We've had reports coming from the pits that we may have a broken axle shaft, a broken prop shaft in the 222. We need to get that confirmed, but at the moment, it's not looking good for the 222 team. That's going to be a big repair for those guys. Hog's Breath, look at the spray just coming off the windscreen as they did the old double switchback on the 88 power zone. And I'll tell you what, conditions getting a little bit more consistent, a little bit more lumpy, and the boat's starting to jump around a little bit. Hog's Breath, Well, they are just searching, looking for an answer here at the moment. But I tell you what, there doesn't appear to be any answers to the Power Zone boat at the moment. It is absolutely on fire. And as I say that, it may just be the angle that we're commentating from. But the Hog's Breath looks as though it pulls up alongside the 88 Power Zone again. In fact, there's the shot. So we've got one boat link between these two boats. This has just been an absolute ding-dong battle. Don't know whether there'll be discussions at the end of this one. It's all looked pretty fair and pretty clean to me so far, but you never know what goes on in the cockpits either. Will these guys be talking to each other at the end of this one? Only time will tell. Hog's Breath, you can see the engines just moving around there. These engines run solid engine mounts, and even still you can see the cowlings just copping an absolute hiding, and this is a relatively smooth day. You can certainly imagine the pounding that they cop on a rough day out here, as it looks as though the Power Zone... Oh, what's happened? Oh, Power Zone's down. Oh, what an absolute disaster. The lead boat in the Supercat outboard category, Michael and Griffith Thal, and they come to a grinding halt. The 2.5 litre Mercuries come off song, and disappointment personified. Have a look at Michael Ethel there. He is absolutely devastated with that. He can't even come to terms with it at the moment as his father takes his helmet off as well. The Ethel boys not happy. That opens the door up for Mickey Walker and Paul Folds, and although they'll be happy to have had their job made a little bit easier in this one by the Ethel boys stopping, I'm sure they'll be disappointed. They won't want to win races that way. They were having an absolute ding-dong battle with the 88 Power Zone. Now the Hog's Breath goes to the front, but something I did notice when the 88 Power Zone stopped was Saracen actually had to avoid driving up the back of him. That's how close the Saracen is in the mix as well. Can they make a move up onto the Hog's Breath as race leader just goes through? And the Willerton boys, they've won both shootouts and they are leading now. They look like they're going to be tough to beat. Todd Kelly and Peter Muddy Mcgrath. We've heard a report on the radio that that boat does have a broken axle shaft or propeller shaft, and they have got the gear there. Mark Tolcher, the crew chief, is back at the truck now. He's got the equipment out. They're going to get that boat out of the water, but it's a massive job to change one of those shafts. Can they do it? Only time will tell. Can they turn the boat around and get it out for race number 2? It'll be a miracle, I think, if they do. Saracen now charging hard, boat number 22. These guys located out of Brighton in Victoria. It is Anthony Defina and Matt Kelly. They've inherited second place now in this Supercat outboard category. It's a 28-foot, it's a 32-foot, I should say, Saracen hull, and it is running the Mercury 3.2 litre strokers on that boat. Let's have a look and see if we can hear what Griff says. You can hear the fuel pumps running there. So trying to get that boat restarted. Unfortunately for the guys, it looks as though certainly not an engine blow up or a gearbox explosion or anything like that, I wouldn't think, because they're actually thinking, well, it looks from their body language that they may be able to get that boat up and going again. We've got the right man on the job with Big Griffith L down there on the spanners, but certainly this race has been lost to them. The only thing they could probably hope for is to get back on board and try and get some points. Ian Harris and Chris Hager, they inherit third place just very, very nicely indeed, so they'll be pretty happy with that. And Hager, of course, in his first run in this boat, he'll be very happy to put it up onto the podium. Kenny Tree and Travis Thompson in the KKR Fleet Imaging entry, just going around very, very nicely indeed and just picking up spots. They are in fact up into third spot now, so doing a very nice job there. Kenny Tree in only his second ever offshore superboat race. Ken, a very experienced water ski racer, both as a skier and as a boat owner and driver, now making the move into this beautiful KKR Transport entry. He is, of course, one of the owners of KKR Transport, and it's his company that in fact transports all of the Maritimo boats to all of the races. So it's fabulous to have Kenny on board. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and he's really enjoying his racing out here at the moment, and he is going to teach me how to drive one of those road ranges one day. But don't worry about that right now, because the checkered flag comes out. Race number 1, the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships, and it's Andrew and Ross Willerton in boat number 11, Maritimo 11 to be precise, taking the win in absolutely dominant fashion. Into second place, it's an all Maritimo benefit with the Maritimo number 12 coming through into second place. Tom Barry Cotter and Stephen Jellick. What a storming run for them. So, folks, what's going to happen here. This boat, the 222, Todd Kelly and Peter Muddy Mcgrath, is Todd waving. These guys already know what they have to do, and they're getting prepared in the pits. Have a look at this. Coming through to take the win in race number 1 is the Hog's Breath Racing entry. Fantastic run for those boys. Mickey Walker and Paul Folds in the 29-foot Shifty Catamaran boat number 5 take the win back to Saracen, and into third place will be the Phantom in the Supercat outboard category, and into third place in the Supercat Extreme will be the KKR, as we see the Saracen now coming through to pick up some chocolates there and add some points to their points table for the year. They didn't compete in all the rounds this year, so they're going to struggle to try and get to the top of the table, but all points are good points for these guys, and Anthony Defina and Matt Kelly certainly enjoying their racing in the Saracen boat number 22. Let's have a look at the results from race number 1. Maritimo 11 dominant there, only around about 20 seconds back to Maritimo 12. KKR Transport a lap down, but still on the podium. 222 with a DNF. Hog's Breath taking the win in the Supercat outboard after a hard-fought battle back to Saracen, Phantom, and unfortunately that DNF there for the Power Zone. They've got some work to do in race number 2.
Oh mate, that was absolutely unreal. We had an absolute ding-dong battle with the number 11 boat. Mate, we were trying everything, we were throwing everything at them. They got us on the first corner, which we gave them the corner because they had the line there. But then we threw everything at it. We were having a ball, me and Tom, and yeah, we couldn't quite get there.
Look, we thought it was going to be a lot rougher than it's actually ended up being. Race 1 here is just so flat calm. Hopefully race 2 picks up for a bit of chop, we're hoping. But we just tried to get a bit more down trim, but it just wasn't working in pole yesterday. So this morning we changed the spacers out, just get that trim back up, and it's worked so far. It's so far so good for us. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you couldn't plan that if you tried. Sort of had not a bad ratio, pretty flat. Working pretty hard out there. We were going hard. Last thing I expected to see was we came around the corner and Todd said to me, "Are we okay?" And I knew exactly what he was talking about. I could feel a slight shudder. Engine-wise, yep, fine. And then next minute, propeller shaft and propeller gone.
It wasn't too choppy out there, so we sort of kept up with them for a little bit. But we unfortunately with Team 88 having a gearbox issue, we got third. But yeah, it's a bit lumpy out there for our little boat, but yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's definitely a lot choppier than at home. Usually we do a lot more sort of swell with chop on top, where this is just all wind chop.
We sort of had a little bit too much fuel on with a little bit too much weight, and not making excuses, but they sort of had it on us. And we had a wonderful dice. It's so wonderful racing like that. Everybody's so close. We'll get ready for race 2. Not much. I think we're happy with what we've got, and if the wind comes up, well, that'll be to our advantage hopefully. So we'll just suck and see, I think.
Saw that 88 pulled out, and then the Hulk was just too far in front of us, so we just backed off and thought we'd save it for race 2 and see how we go then. We're still a little bit off the smaller boats in this kind of water. It was very flat. Hopefully race 2 is going to be a lot rougher, and hopefully we'll go better then. We'll try different props again, different setup, and hopefully see how we go. So.
We've done a gearbox, unfortunately. Through that hard racing, chasing down that Hulk, we unfortunately blew our port gearbox. So boys are out there fixing it now, and hopefully get it all squared up for race 2. Yeah, set up for race 2 will be critical. Winds are going to blow up a little bit, so we don't want to be too tall, but we also want to keep balance so we can try and keep some speed.
So Hervey Bay absolutely turning it on here. You can see the conditions actually glassing off just a little bit for this race number 2. And we have an absolute massive amount of work going on in the pits. And the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, that the team from 222, crew chief Marky Tolcher, has made it happen. They've got a new race axle in that boat. And the 222 with Todd Kelly and Peter Mcgrath greet the starters. What a fantastic effort from this team, and let's hope they can do well in this one as the flag drops and we're away, and Maritimo 12 gets the best of the starts. Maritimo 11 on the inside didn't quite get away as well as they would have liked. KKR, nice start for those guys as they run up alongside the 222 with Kenny Tree and Travis Thompson, and I tell you what, You can throw a blanket over the two Maritimo boats as they storm at the front straight away. And this is really interesting, isn't it? Because we saw the 11 has been so dominant all weekend. Can the 12 hold them off? Well, current form would say no, but at the moment they're a boat length in front. Let's see what they can do here. The outboard guys get going. Other great set of news here is that the Ethel boys, the 88 Power Zone, did get those gearboxes changed, and they have worked hard in the pits as well. It's been a hard day at the office for a few of these teams. Have a look at the 11, turning in very, very tight there. 222, Todd Kelly just dropping into the wash of the 12. Oh, have a look out tight. Travis Thompson and Kenny Tree, they'll make up a heap of ground running through the inside there in the the KKR as we go back to the head of the pack. And the all too familiar scene for this weekend, the Maritimo 11, the Willerton boys charging hard up into turn number 2. They have ducked up the inside and the 12 goes to the outside. We go on board now with the father and son combination. Andrew and Ross Willerton now charging hard in this rocket ship. This boat is an absolute weapon, particularly in these smoother conditions. Now, I might have called that it was getting a little bit smoother earlier in the race, but I tell you what, certainly getting a bit of consistency on it now, and even up here in the commentary box I can feel the wind starting to come through. It's starting to become a little bit gusty and a little bit squally. This is going to change the complexion of this race number 2. We go on board with Mick Walker and Paul Foltz. It's going to be interesting to see how this boat handles in some slightly rougher conditions now. Still certainly not rough conditions by offshore racing standards, but it is getting a lot choppier. So, Mickey Walker and Paul Foltz, how can this beautiful 29 Shifty Cat handle the conditions here? It's got a super wide tunnel. The reason they run a big wide tunnel in this boat is for maximum speed. The problem is the trade-off with a really wide tunnel is that you're not as good in the rough water. I tell you what, Saracen's got a narrower tunnel in this Saracen hull, and it looks as though the conditions are coming to Anthony DeFina and Matt Kelly as they push very hard. And now, instead of being hunted by the Power Zone, this Hog's Breath machine is being hunted by the Saracen. Gee, their mirrors have been full all weekend, and Mick Walker and Paul Foltz to be absolutely loving racing here at Hervey Bay. Maritimo 11 out in front still. You can see that repair just on the front of the boat there. Doesn't seem to be affecting its performance, does it, as it tips into the port turn, and really starting to get a bit of consistency to it now. The throttle men now having to do a little bit of work. As the propellers break free of the water, the throttle man has to come off the throttles, stop these race engines revving themselves into oblivion. When the boats re-enter the water, he has to be back on the throttle, because if the propellers are going slower than the boat speed, the boat will what we call trip and duff. It'll actually pull up like a set of brakes at the back of the boat and throw the nose of the boat into the water. So when the boat lands, throttle man has to be hard back on the throttles to keep the bows of the boats up. So throttle men having to work hard now. They've had it a little bit easy in race number 1, but not this time around. This is where they really have to do their work, and the Saracen is giving the Hog's Breath a real run for their money here now. The boys from Victoria in the final race of the season, really wanting to try and get it done. You see Mickey Walker, he's found a coffee shop. I think he just pointed out, look at that Folsey, nice little coffee shop. We might pull in there after the race and grab ourselves some scones and jam and have a nice little latte or something along those lines. Or maybe he's trying to make a bit of a race plan to try and hold off the Saracen boys. Matty Kelly and Anthony DeFina, they are all over the back of this boat like a cheap suit at the moment. You can see the Saracen jumping and leaping. You can see the spray going up over those 3.2 litre strokers on the Hog's Breath now as well. So they're really starting to punish these boats. And speaking about punishing the boats, not only do the boats cop some punishment, but so do the crews. These guys, the TV doesn't do it justice. The pounding that these guys are copping in the cockpits of these boats, they have to have super core strength. They have to have really strong necks in these boats because they cop an absolute hiding. I was talking to Todd Kelly after race number 1, and although he didn't get to finish, he said that he's certainly very, very physical. Ken Tree and Travis Thompson now, they accelerate their way out of turn number 2, and you can see the conditions starting to get quite sloppy now as this KKR machine has been super reliable. The Fleet Imaging entry, boat number 15, Ken Tree and Travis Thompson charging hard. You can see this is a shaft-driven boat. You can actually just see on the back there the rudder between the two sponsons of the boat right in the middle of the tunnel. It's quite interesting the way the rudders work on these boats. They actually use air pressure to turn just as much as they use hydrodynamic pressure. So That's the difference between them and the 11, which runs obviously the Mercury stern drives, which actually turn to turn the boat. But this is the real battle at the moment of the race. It is the Hog's Breath on the inside, the Saracen on the outside, and conditions are starting to get sloppy. I would say these conditions are probably not quite rough enough for these guys to have to back down, so the speeds are right up. Both these boats capable of about 165 to 170 kilometres an hour in the outboard category. Of course, Maritimo 11 capable of around about 200 kilometres an hour, and I think they would be up around those figures even in these quite sloppy conditions now. This is an amazing battle. Tell you what, the Hog's Breath boys, they'll just be dreaming about a clean run with no one harassing them this weekend, because all they have done is fend off challenges. First from the 88 power zone, now from the Saracen. Maritimo 11 joins the fold, so that's a lap put on the outboard category now, because these are our two race leaders in the Supercat outboard category, and this is absolutely enthralling racing. Both these boats running the 3.2 litre Mercury strokers. Oh, it looks as though Saracen might have just run a little bit wide and just ended up in the spray and the wash. Now they come in nice and tight onto the Hog's Breath, and then they let the boat just run a bit. So great driving there from Matt Kelly, trying to maintain that momentum. Exactly what Michael Ethel was doing in the previous race, holding the Hog's Breath in tight and then running wide. But they've got to be careful of that, because they've got the big boats coming around the outside of them as well. So it's a real balancing act for these guys at the moment. But the boys in Saracen doing a wonderful job, because I tell you what, this Hog's Breath machine is an absolute rocket ship. The 12 comes through, Maritimo 12. And these boys, Tom Berry-Cotter and Steve Jellick, they've just been there, haven't they? They've just been going around and circulating. They're super quick. They're just not quite as quick as the 11 at the moment, their teammates, and that'll be depressing them a little bit, I'm sure, but they just need to keep pushing away and maybe hoping for a problem in the 11 if they can get a result. So, look at this. Saracen drops into the 12's wash, and it is quite tight, but Matty Kelly leaving plenty of racing room there for the Hog's Breath. But what you can do is you can just hold him in tight and make sure he has to get off the throttle to try and get that boat turned in. That way he loses some momentum. The Saracen on the outside can maintain a little bit of momentum, and Anthony Defina can keep on the throttles a little bit harder with that wider arc and just maintain that boat speed. That way you can negate any acceleration advantage that the Hog's Breath may have over the Saracen. And I tell you what, the Saracen boys have done that absolutely beautifully. Left plenty of racing room and taken the advantage. They go about 2 boat lengths up on the Hog's Breath now, and this is an absolute ding-dong paddle. The Victorians and the Queenslanders going at it. Phantom out there at the moment. I saw quickly a glimpse of the 88 power zone a little bit earlier on, and I would say that their gearbox ratio change has probably cost them fairly dearly. The other problem that these guys have got now, 25 footers. Ian Harris and Chris Hager. Chris out of New Zealand will certainly be feeling these conditions starting to get rougher and rougher now. In fact, you can start to see some white caps forming all over the bay here now at beautiful Hervey Bay on the Fraser coast, and doesn't it look absolutely magnificent? We've got crowds down here enjoying the racing. Have a look at this, the Catherine Hill Bay 222 Lake Macquarie entry. Todd Kelly and Peter Muddy Mcgrath pushing hard. They're up into 3rd spot at the moment, and what an amazing effort by Mark Tolcher and his crew there to get this boat back onto the water and turned around after a broken prop shaft. Maritimo 11 now tipping into, whoa, no, they're not coming into a corner at all. They're pulling in. This looks like a problem here for the Willerton boys. Oh, devastation. And I only mentioned that the 12 will be looking for a problem. I hope I didn't put the commentator's mocker on them. But the 12 goes through. The 11 pulls up after being so dominant all weekend. They'll be absolutely shattered with this one. Ross and Andrew Willerton. You can see Andrew just shakes his head a little bit as he climbs up out of the cockpit, and disappointing stuff. Maritimo 12 goes to the lead of this, the final round, the final race. Stick around, folks. We've got more great action coming your way. Welcome back to the magnificent Fraser coast here at beautiful Hervey Bay, and the crowd is being absolutely entertained with some really close and hard racing here in the final round of the Offshore Superboat Championships for 2018. The final race, in actual fact, in the final half of the final race, we go on board with Anthony Defina and Matt Kelly, who are pushing very, very hard. They've managed to do the old double switchback on the Hog's Breath. They've got the Saracen up the inside, but they take a couple of big hits and they've come out of the throttles. Hog Breath take advantage of that. Mickey Walker and Paul Folds go back into the lead now of the outboard category. This is real cat and mouse stuff. You wouldn't get better racing than this anywhere on the planet at the moment. These guys absolutely swapping. First, second. They haven't swapped any paint yet, but I tell you what, it could be on the cards because there's plenty of desperation out there. The Phantom just going along very, very nicely at the moment. Ian Harris and Chris Hager. Chris, of course, as I've said a couple of times, first time in this boat and doing a very nice job. But I think the conditions have got them a little bit outsmarted here today with the little short 25-footer, and it's starting to get a little bit bumpier. So, inherited first place now, the Maritimo 12, and this is exactly what Tom Barry-Cotter and Steve Jellick needed, because I tell you what, that 11 was a rocket ship. And unfortunately for the 11 team of Andrew and Ross Willerton, can't get the job done here today. That puts Todd Kelly and Peter Muddy Mcgrath up into second place. So fantastic for these guys. And I'm sure Todd enjoying his day out on the water. Of course, Todd from the Nissan V8 Supercar team, one of the nicest blokes going around too, I'll give you the tip. And he is having an absolute ball out there today. The KKR, they are up into third spot now. So Kenny Tree and Travie Thompson doing a very, very nice job as well. You can hear those big 850 horsepower Maritimo big blocks just screaming away beautifully here on Hervey Bay and doing a very nice job indeed. Saracen now, here's the battle continuing on. I'm just looking out for the Hog's Breath. I can't see him in shot at the moment, and I can't see any wash from them in shot either. So Saracen doing a nice job here. Have they broken into the lead? We'll have to get a wider shot and just see where they're at the moment. But the 22 with Anthony DeFina and Matt Kelly out of Brighton in Victoria doing a very, very nice job indeed. The Maritimo 12 charging hard down through the outside. Michael and Griffith L, they've done a gearbox replacement on the 88 power zone, and it looks as though a combination of probably a slightly incorrect gear ratio, I reckon, for these guys, for these conditions, and the conditions getting bigger and bigger. This is one of the shortest boats in the field. It's actually the same hull as the Phantom hull, running the little 2.5 litre Mercury engines, and I think these guys are probably in conservation mode. They've got great points in the championship at the moment, and they want to try and conserve. They want to bring this boat home and put those points in the bag and trying to get this championship locked down. Smart racing from the Power Zone crew at the moment. Catherine Hill Bay, Lake Macquarie, the sponsor of the 222 Offshore. Big Darren Nicholson, he's overseas this weekend racing in the XCAT series. And Todd Kelly taking over from him and doing a beautiful job. And of course the ever reliable Peter Muddy Mcgrath, the legend in that particular boat. As we go on board now with my old mate Kenny Tree and Travis Thompson doing a nice job. And there is a sad sight. That's the Maritimo 11. So the Willerton boys, gee, they had a great weekend up until about 5 minutes ago, and you can see Roscoe, just a little thumbs up there. Not too much phases, the great man, Mr. Ross Willerton. He knows what offshore powerboat racing's all about. Oh, Saracen, they're over! They're gone! No, they're back! Oh my goodness! That was the biggest save of the year! Saracen, let's have a look at it again. It goes up onto its starboard side, and it drives on its starboard side. They're passengers. Oh my goodness, Matty Kelly and Andy DeFina. Let's look at it from on board. It rips the engine cowling off that starboard engine. Oh my goodness. Can they keep going? They're out in front. How that boat did not go over is absolutely beyond me. They're continuing on, folks. They're in the lead of the race, and they don't want to let this one go. Oh, no. I need to lie down. I'm going. I'm out of the commentary box for this one. That was unbelievable. And here is the story being told here, the Hog's Breath. They have got a problem with that boat. I would suggest one rooster tail coming off that, and it looks as though that's opened up the door for Michael and Griffith L in the 88 power zone to try and make a move on them. Oh, I tell you what, the biggest moment of the year without literally crashing the boat. Andy DeFina and Matt Kelly, you boys need to buy a Tats Lotto ticket this week, because I reckon you're going to win millions. So you can see the port engine on the Hog's Breath has given up the ghost, and you can see now Michael and Griffith L say thank you very much, we'll just take that and move on our merry way, looking towards trying to win this championship, and just everything falling their way at the moment. Phantom, can they have a little bit of a look at the Hog's Breath as well in the this particular category? I just should correct myself there, because of course the Hog's Breath was a lap up, so that means the Power Zone have only unlapped themselves on this one. So Hog's Breath still running in second spot at the moment, but the Power Zone has unlapped themselves. So let's see if they've got enough time to get right around and overtake them for second spot. It's going to be a big ask. Can the Hog's Breath keep going? That's going to be the question there. We go on board now with the 12, or we're having a look at the 12, I should say, as they charge down through the bottom turn. This is where you've got to be careful, and we saw it with the Saracen. You can see the wash is coming from the sides of the boats. What happened there, the inside sponson of this boat, and you can see, have a look at the starboard or the right-hand engine cowling there. It is smashed to pieces. How that engine is even kept running is actually beyond me. It will be full of water. And if that cowling comes apart anymore, it'll be getting hosed down with salt spray. These boys still need to bring this boat home. Well, as this race winds down, getting close to the end, they've nearly tipped the boat over and they've done some damage. Can they bring it home? That's the question. Maritimo 12, no such issues for this particular boat. Tom Barry Cotter and my man Stevie Jellick just doing it very, very nicely indeed. Being hunted now by the Catherine Hill Bay 222 racing entry. Darren Nicholson, of course, the owner of this boat that, as we mentioned, isn't here this weekend. Todd Kelly from the Nissan V8 Supercar team, the legend that is TK, and of course in with one of the best throttle men in the business in Peter Money Mcgrath, doing a beautiful job. KKR up into third place in the Supercat Extreme category as they just go round Ian Harris and Chris Hager in the Phantom machine, jumping and leaping. These guys really starting to get into it now. In fact, I think Kenny Tree, the conditions are starting to come to him a little bit. This boat probably hasn't quite got the pace in the smooth water, but in these rougher conditions, he's doing an amazing job. Travie Thompson having to work those throttles hard and fast. The Maritimo 12 down the back chute, and I think we're going to see a checkered flag on this lap. In fact, the timing is going to be critical here, and will the checkered flag come out? We need to wait and have a look at the Hog's Breath finish boat as the boys come around. They can just relax just a little bit, but they'll be hearing every sound and every noise in that boat. As you can see, Steve Jellick on the left of screen, and then of course Tom Barry Cotter on the right doing the steering in this boat. Maritimo 12, they round at the bottom turn. Let's just have a look. We may see a checkered flag come out on this one. The timing's going to be very, very tight indeed. In fact, the official's looking like a hawk. Checkered flag comes out. Maritimo 12 will take the win in race number 2 here at the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. But I tell you something, if the 222 can come through in second place, this is going to give them enough points to win the championship. And they come through the Catherine Hill Bay 222, Todd Kelly and Peter Mcgrath, second place in the final race of the season. But they will pick up the championship. Take a bow, gentlemen. Fantastic effort there by Darren Nicholson's team, driven of course by Todd Kelly and Peter Money Mcgrath, the Catherine Hill Bay 222. Maritimo 12, the winners there, and they'll be pretty happy with that. They needed a little bit of luck to go their way, and they actually got the luck that they were looking for. They were super quick all weekend. They just weren't quite as quick as the 11, but they got the job done. Kenny Tree, congratulations on your first season of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championship racing, young man. Travis Thompson on the throttles, always Mr. Reliable, the hardest working guy in the pits. And I tell you what, you'd have to put your hands together for these guys. And in fact, the Hog's Breath just getting a lap put on them now by the Saracen. Saracen comes through to take the win. It won't be enough for them to win the championship, but I tell you what, they'll be thanking their lucky stars that all they have to do is buy an engine cowling and probably dry an engine out as they come through. Anthony Defina and Matthew Kelly out of Victoria in the Saracen take the win in the final round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. And the Hog's Breath hangs on for second place, which will give them enough points to take the championship on one engine. Congratulations there to Mickey Walker and Paul Folds. Michael and Griffith Thell's been a fantastic season for these guys as they come through into third place in the 88 Power Zone racing entry. Always ever reliable. A great effort from the father-son combination there. Let's have a look at the results from race number 2. Maritimo 12 taking it down back to 222 Offshore. KKR Transport and an unfortunate DNF for the very fast Maritimo 11. In the Supercat outboard category, the Victorian boys, the Saracen, take the win. Back to Hog's Breath, down 1 lap. Power Zone down 2, and the Phantom down a couple of laps as well.
For a bunch of guys that haven't really worked together, there wasn't a lot of words said. We just knew what had to happen and get it in the water. But getting it in the water, we thought we might have a bit of a chance. I had to use a propeller that I didn't really want to use. It roughed up, and to see the 11 boat pull out, it sort of just fell in our lap. So sometimes hard work pays off, doesn't it?
It was a good battle with Andrew and Ross in the 11 there for a couple of laps, and you take those wins when they come, but it was real disappointing to see the 11 boat pull out there halfway through that race. They were absolutely flying, and there's no way we could have caught them.
We did have a problem with the starboard engine. We were a bit concerned about the belts. We're losing wearing the Jessel belts that drive the oil pump and the fuel pump and stuff. And something was out of alignment, I think. And anyway, it was bumpier, obviously way bumpier in that race. And the drive that drives all those belts fell off the front of the engine. So that's what happens.
I thought we were going to have a bit more of a battle with 222 there. Unfortunately, we missed the start on both the races, the first race and the second race. We sort of got a bit far forward, had to come back off the power, and then once old Gibbsy dropped the flag, we were sort of left sitting idle. And that was our fault. We were a bit too far forward. But no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, we're having a really good race with Saracen. They were right beside us all the way around and tussling for, inside, outside positions. And then not about halfway through the course on the bottom end, we lost power out of one engine, and we thought we'd done an alternator, or we weren't sure, but by the time we got back here, we found out it'll be a compressor, a little revalve in there, that's all.
We did all right the first race, and we thought we'll make a few changes, so we came back in, went down to prop size, and prayed that the wind would come up, and it did. And it was on from the start with the Hulk. There was absolutely nothing in it for 2 or 3 laps, and then I think we maybe pulled a little brake on them, lap 3 or 4, and we didn't realise we were ahead, so we kept going pretty hard.
We went to the 187 ratios and the little 28 props, knowing it was going to be rough or rougher, but never realised until we got out to the front just exactly how bad it was. And unfortunately, our little boat doesn't like that wind and a run-out tide, and it was short and sharp, but we still battled around, and we were really pleased to finish.
Well, some very happy competitors here, and a big shout out to Marky Tolcher getting the 222 back onto the water. Final championship points, 222 taking the win back to Maritimo 11, Maritimo 12 and KKR Transport. In the Supercat outboard category, the boys from Hogsbreath take the win back to the 88 power zone, and in third place was Team Saracen. And in the Australia 1 Championship, the overall championship for the year, 222 taking the win back to Hogsbreath, Maritimo 11, Maritimo 12, Power Zone, KKR and Saracen. Well, what a fantastic season we've had in the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships for 2018. A big congratulations to the team from 222 and also Hogsbreath for winning their respective championships. We think we've brought you some wonderful racing this year. Certainly plenty of action and plenty of excitement. We hope you've enjoyed the racing, and we hope to see you in 2019.